Welcome back. This is Susie McCauley, and I am here joining you today for part two. So, congratulations on following through. If you're at this point, I hope you've seen part one. If you haven't, just go back and check your email. And I do strongly encourage that you go through the three-part video series in order if possible, and because they just kind of build on each other. But yay, we're here together and we're going to dive right into it. So, what we're doing today is we are going to cover the bulk of this, the meat of this, the three biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make. And then we're just going to touch on a little visualization exercise to help you really connect with your mission, your purpose, your vision for your business, your art making practice, whatever it is that you are trying to get done out there in the world. And so without delay, we are going to get going. So the three main mistakes that solopreneurs and entrepreneurs make, and creative enterprisers, nonprofit founders, these are the patterns that I've seen. Okay, this is a big one, so drum roll. They try and do it all at once. So how many times have you heard someone say, I'll get to that, I just need a chunk of time to get to that? Or maybe you've said that yourself and that sounds familiar, but as soon as I have a day off, I'm going to get to that project. I'm going to get back to that project that's been sitting on the back burner. Well, guess what? Either that day never comes and that business idea or that project remains on the back burner forever, or finally that day comes, you've got this chunk of time, you've got 3 to 6 hours or maybe more, and you're like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. And maybe you actually even succeed in getting yourself ramped up and diving into your project, and you're just lost in it, you're enjoying it so much, you're having so much fun, and then your day ends and you've had a super hugely productive day, and then you don't touch your project or your business for days or weeks or months or years. And this leads to inconsistent action, which is the enemy of getting your milestones, of accomplishing your goals and getting your product or service out there. So maybe you're able to see the whole mountain of your vision, but that next step is not so clear. And sometimes we get caught up as visionaries and as passionate people. We see this big, huge vision for the world we want to create. And sometimes it's so frustrating because we see that big picture, but we don't see that tiny next little step that's required to help inch us towards it. So that is a big problem, enemy of productivity. Mistake number 2. And I am guilty 100% of all of these. I used to do all of them a lot, terribly, and I still keep an eye on these things for myself. I'm still constantly questioning, checking, asking myself, am I falling into any of these traps? So this is another mistake number 2. This is a big one. We try to do it all alone. So if you're watching my screen, I found this beautiful image of this, seems like a young woman, and she is just struggling, and it just captures a lot of emotion in this picture. And to me, it just represents that entrepreneur that's trying to create in a vacuum, or that artist that is putting so much pressure on themselves to just create out of nothing, all by themselves, without any community to bounce ideas off of, without a cohort of people to kind of point out when you might be distracted or sidetracked, without the support of people encouraging you, without positive and thoughtful feedback that helps you to think critically in a kind, nurturing, gentle way about what you're trying to accomplish and whether how you're trying to accomplish is actually getting you there. So when we try and create all by ourselves, we have no one to celebrate successes with. And this is huge because as human beings, we're always moving towards pleasure and away from pain. And if you associate working on your business or doing your creative work or doing your healing work as something that nobody ever really sees it. You never really get positive feedback, and it's just not fun, and it's super duper lonely. Are you going to continue putting yourself through that? Is that going to help contribute to a positive business, or is it going to lead to a lot of frustration and disappointment? So that's mistake number 2, trying to do it all alone. Mistake number 1 was trying to do it all at once. And if I don't have that block of time, then I'm not even going to touch it. And which ties into perfectionism. And it ties in because sometimes we're waiting for that perfect moment, the perfect resources and support. And perfectionism, I think all of us entrepreneurs and creatives, we suffer from this because we do aspire to excellence. We do have these strong visions that we want to create, these ideas and these passions. And sometimes the reality of how we execute is not always going to live up to the way we thought it was going to be. Sometimes the real life execution is even better. Sometimes it's just different. The people that I know that are creating consistently and doing it really successfully, they are comfortable producing at 80%. This is big. Not going for 100, 110, 80%, awesome. Let's put it out there. Let's get that feedback from the community, and then we can keep evolving it and keep growing. But these successful entrepreneurs, they have a strong instinct to publish, and they are very comfortable with their flaws and their mistakes and with being messy. They kind of assume that it's going to be messy, especially at first. And that's just part of the process. And so getting to a point where we can not only accept the messiness, but even embrace that that's how it's going to be. And when we're creating, again, in that environment of safety, we have the support. So we're able to create those environments for ourselves where we do feel comfortable not being 100% perfect. So the problem with perfectionism is that it goes against action. It goes against producing. It keeps us from getting started. So, okay, that song is never going to be what I really want it to be, so I'm just not even going to bother. And this perfectionism gets us focusing on the little things that we think suck and keeps us away from focusing on the big picture of awesomeness, which is you creating, building your business, going after your dream. That's the big picture, right? And so, for instance, and I check myself on this one too, I can create a beautiful song and record a beautiful song, and I might, if I'm not careful, I can fixate on that half of a note that I think was imperfect in some way, instead of really celebrating this entire beautiful song that was not in the world before and now is. So that's kind of the big picture. So perfectionism keeps us from expanding, keeps us from growing, keeps us from putting stuff out there, and it's going to keep you and your business small. The key is getting started, and getting started before we're ready, before we're 100% perfect. Because guess what? We never get there. Okay, I included a couple bonus mistakes because I really wanted you to get as much out of this as possible. And so magical thinking, and I, again, have been very guilty of this, and I see it a lot with artists and entrepreneurs, thinking that at some magical point in the future, some magical thing will happen to you, or some magical person will come into your life and sprinkle fairy dust on you, and all of a sudden you'll be successful and happy and thriving and living this life of your dreams. So, this magical prince, or if you're a guy, maybe it's a princess or a fairy, um, is it can come in many different forms. So I have here that your savior, which I think of this magical being as like some kind of savior, that we are holding our breath and waiting for this person or thing to show up before. That's my doorbell. Before we will show up for ourselves. Pause this.